Okay, welcome everyone. We're doing a deep dive today into some really interesting material. It's an article looking at the psychology behind what it maybe a bit provocatively calls crypto cults.
Yeah, that's a term designed to grab your attention, isn't it?
It definitely is.
And what this analysis gets into is how, for some people, crypto isn't just, currency or tech.
Right.
It actually morphs into something much deeper, a belief system, sometimes even like core to their identity.
Exactly. So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive,
Mm.
is to sort of unpack the psychology, the social stuff going on, based on what this article lays out.
Trying to understand what makes these communities tick,
Yeah.
basically.
So let's get into it. Maybe start with maximalism. The article defines that pretty clearly.
It does. And it stresses this isn't just saying, oh, I like Bitcoin or I prefer ETH.
Uh-huh.
It uses examples like Bitcoin maximalist, ETH maxi. It's about this really intense commitment,
Intense.
like actively promoting it, evangelizing, and fiercely defending your chosen chain or coin, often with this belief that it's the only one that really matters.
Ah, okay. So a maxi is someone who's like totally convinced their coin is the truth.
Pretty much, that level of conviction.
And the article links this to something,
Yeah.
well, fundamental, a human need for certainty,
Exactly. In a world that feels, let's face it, pretty chaotic.
especially in crypto.
Right. Especially there. So finding this one truth, one thing to fully believe in that can feel really grounding. It meets that psychological need.
Makes sense. And these groups, these communities, the article says they function a bit like, what, digital tribes?
Yeah, that's the analogy. They gather around shared beliefs. They have their own language, memes, inside jokes.
Leaders, even.
Sometimes, yeah, leaders, figureheads. And often they define themselves against enemies, other coins, other chains. It all fosters this powerful sense of belonging, shared purpose.
But here's the twist, right? This is where the article suggests a potential danger zone. That loyalty, that belonging, it can become a kind of blindness.
That's the crucial point it raises. Where does strong belief, conviction, cross the line into dogma?
And how does that show up? What behaviors does it mention?
Well, things like ignoring really obvious flaws in the project they support.
Okay.
Just dismissing warnings or, valid criticism completely out of hand.
Right.
Sometimes even attacking people who just ask questions or suggest there might be other valid approaches. It's like facts don't matter as much as faith. Emotion takes over from logic.
And you can see this in specific actions, the article points out, like religiously buying the dip,
Every dip, no matter how low it goes.
celebrating every tiny pump like it's the ultimate proof.
And maybe the biggest one, doubling down after a major crash. Instead of, maybe reassessing, they just dig in deeper.
Wow. Okay. It uses the Bitcoin maxi as a key example here.
It does. That mindset where Bitcoin isn't just the best, it's often seen as the only legitimate crypto.
Yeah.
Everything else is basically a scam.
And it mentions how they dismiss others.
Yeah, specific examples like Ethereum, oh, that's too complicated or it changes too much. Solana, too centralized.
And meme coins, don't even get them started, yeah. Just dismissed.
Now, the article does add a bit of nuance, right? It acknowledges that sometimes, historically, some maximalists have actually been proven right, especially long-term.
True. It does concede that point.
But the main risk it's highlighting isn't really about whether they make money or not.
No, it's about the psychological state. When that healthy debate, that preference, just hardens into this rigid, unquestionable dogma, when it becomes identity.
That feels like the core takeaway then. It stops being just about finance or tech.
Exactly. It becomes about who you are. It operates more like well, the article calls it a digital religion.
So wrapping this up, the main thing we've unpacked from this source is really understanding that psychology, right? The need for certainty, the need to belong, driving this intense loyalty and tribalism in crypto, sometimes to a point where it kind of clouds judgment. Absolutely. And it leaves us, and you listening, with this really provocative final thought from the article.
Buddhism.
What if the most powerful tech here isn't actually about decentralizing money?
Yeah.
What if it's about decentralizing belief itself?
Decentralizing belief.
Yeah.
That's something to really think about, how that could change things, not just money, but how we form groups, identities online.
Definitely something to mull over.